Hello, friends, and welcome to this new episode of Bachelor Therapy with Dr. Amit. Today, we are going to discuss the remedy ELM. Now, ELM is the remedy which represents a state of responsibility, and ELM helps people to relieve the burden of responsibility. So, it's not only responsibility, but it's the burden of responsibility which is represented as a negative quality by these ELM people. We all face responsibilities everywhere. Whether we have certain responsibilities as a family member, we have certain responsibilities as a professionals, we have certain responsibilities as a citizens. So these responsibilities, we are used to those responsibilities, and they usually do not create any kind of burden. But when somebody takes a burden of these responsibilities and starts getting disturbed, that disturbance can be tackled by giving elm to that person. So it's an overwhelming state of responsibility that Elm takes care of. Now, that overwhelming state of responsibility can be because of a real responsibility or a real state which is a burden. So, the burden can be real or the burden can be perceived. I will give you an example. You take the example of a family man. Suddenly, when somebody is in college and suddenly his father dies, and that the boy or the girl who had just entered the college has to take the responsibility of his or her own education as well as the family. So now you suddenly are the head of the family at a very young age, at a very prematurely or at a very unexpected uh, unexpected age. Now that's the thing which is a really sudden burden of a responsibility that has been put on you. Now if that disturbs you, if that makes you overwhelmed, if that makes you feel troublesome, elm can be useful in those particular states. uh, if that kind of burden creates certain physical ailments, those physical ailments also can be taken care by elm. I remember one boy who came for an IBS, and the reason was after a sudden death of his father, he had started with IBS. And I gave some homeopathic medicines called Ignitia and Natramur, and we tried those remedies first, but it didn't help. So we were treating him for 1.5 years or 1.5 months or 2 months, and then finally his mother once came for a follow-up, and I asked her, ki, is he feeling grief after or shock or grief because of his father's death? So she said, yeah, he felt grief, but more than the grief, it's more of a burden of the responsibility because he was not used to any kind of responsibility earlier, because the father used to take everything, father used to take care of everything, and suddenly because the father expired, he had to do everything on his own, and that is more troublesome for him. We shifted immediately from all these homeopathic medicines to elm. So when elm was given, I think within 1 or 2 months his complete IBS it completely resolved. So that's kind of real burden of responsibility that we can think about when we are thinking about elm. A child who is clever goes to US for MS, and then he knows that his father mother, they are not financially well settled, so he has taken educational loan. Now if in US or wherever he has gone, or a boy from a village comes to the city after taking an educational loan, now when he feels the burden of that responsibility, that now my parents have taken education loan or I have taken education loan, so I have to repay that loan as early as possible. So if he does not go anywhere, he won't see any movies, he won't see any he won't go to hotel, although he has money, and he feels the need to entertain himself because of the load of the study. He won't do that because he feels he has an added responsibility of repaying that loan. Now, this is an perceived burden of responsibility. Obviously, he has to repay that loan, but not at the cost of not enjoying anything apart from the studies and all those things. So that's an added perceived burden of responsibility. Uh, Third example is a boy or a girl or a student who is very clever, who is brilliant, and he's performing well in studies. Now, when somebody performs well every time, there is always pressure from or expectations from everyone around. So there are pressures from parents, there are pressure from relatives, there is expectations from the school, from the friends that you will top, you will crack this exam, you will crack that entrance exam, and all those things. So although you are brilliant, when you are overwhelmed or burdened by that responsibility to fulfill everybody's expectations or even your own expectations from yourself, that burden can be taken care by elm. So it's the overwhelming state of responsibility where whenever responsibility becomes a burden, that burden can be real burden or it can be an perceived burden. So either ways it can be useful. So the negative state is that burden of responsibility. Positive state is self-assurance. What is self-assurance? Elm people, they usually have that capacity to perform. They usually have that capacity to deliver that kind of quality. They have that capacity to deliver a particular level of or quality of productivity. Problem is the burden of responsibility makes them feel that they might not be able to perform, they might not be able to deliver. So that burden, that state of temporary state of uh, lack of confidence within themselves can be taken care by giving elm. So elm I have used to for everybody who, especially in March or in January, February, when people are going for their board exams and they feel worried, they feel tense. When the problem is not with the lack of confidence, the problem is not with the fear because they are already top performers. When the problem is of the responsibility, elm usually takes care of that. So do use elm for all those people where you feel the responsibility is creating problems. If you want to see similar videos about bachelor remedies as well as some conceptual thoughts about bachelor practice, do subscribe to our channel so that you can get regular videos on health, homeopathy, bachelor remedies. Do visit our website and send us email so that as well as you can write down your comments below so that we will understand what you want to see in our next videos. We'll meet every Monday and every Thursday. We upload a video every Monday and every Thursday. We are trying to upload more videos more frequently every week. But your comments, you already are sending comments, but your comments are of utmost importance to us because that will they will tell us exactly what you want to see so that we can improve. We can add topics to our next videos. So we'll meet in next video. Thank you.